that genuinely nice people seem to have, and he didn't possess it.
So you thinking Calvin's a bad person? I haven't talked to y'all about how I hate working the night shift. I've worked a ton of different places that a few of them had these late shifts. But something about the night shift, like going to work when it's almost a normal bedtime and then working throughout the night until it's morning and having to sleep through the day. It's really, really hard on the body for one, but it's also crazy. Like there's not a whole bunch open when you're up and about, whereas the people around you, your family, your friends, are living life while you sleep. It's a little bit strange. It's like being a night owl, but the total opposite. And because it's work, you're kind of obligated to do it. Now, some people enjoy the night shift, and some people get a lot accomplished by working these kind of shifts. I was never one of these person, but there's a lot of different night shift jobs, and one of them is being a security guard. Now, not only do you have to work at night, but you're all by yourself usually at these places, and you're ultimately responsible for the safety and well-being of any occupants that might be there, as well as the integrity of the place that you're guarding. And some bad stuff could happen. If there's something that goes down, you have to confront the danger, or at least be the one to report it. It's a weird situation to be in. I know some people like that kind of work. I could never do it. I really couldn't. It's not just nighttime security guards, but I imagine that's when most of it happens, is the crazy stories that come from it. We're going to react to one of my strangest stories today. Make sure to head on over to his channel and subscribe to it, guys. Click the notification bell, and if you like reaction videos, make sure to subscribe to my channel as well. Let's get into the animation. The new guy. Even worse.
I was reading a story that reminded me of an event from over 20 years ago.
Okay.
In the second half of 1998, I had taken a job as a security guard at a plant that made locks.
Mm-hmm.
Being a kid, I usually worked one of three shifts: 4 p.m. to 12 a.m.,
Okay.
7:30 p.m. to 3:30 a.m., 12 a.m. to 8 a.m.
That's the
The
sucky
7:30 to 3:30 shift was for extra coverage,
one. Right.
so there were always two of us there from 7:30 to midnight.
Okay.
It was a routine, boring job for the
Yes.
most part.
Yes.
We did our rounds, logged anything out of the ordinary, and
Right.
watched a tiny monitor displaying the CCTV feed.
Mm-hmm.
Things went by in an almost painfully normal manner for 6 months.
A lot of phone
I
scrolling.
worked, saved, bought a car, and planned to move.
There you go.
By late March of '99, I served my notice and prepared to head cross-country.
All right.
A new hire was brought in to fill my spot, a soft-spoken man named
Yeah.
Calvin. As a part of his training, Calvin spent time working at all hours.
All right.
At night, he was a shadow, working with myself and the other night guard,
Yeah.
getting a feel for the plant's nocturnal routines.
Right.
Most nights, he worked with myself and Amira, a
Mhm.
female guard who was around my age.
Okay.
I was 18 at the time.
All right.
Calvin, who was about a decade older, was quiet and polite, though something seemed to be missing.
All
There's a
right.
spark that genuinely nice people seem to have, and he didn't possess it.
So you thinking Calvin's a bad person? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. The narrator sounds kind of cool too, but I gotta say, because there's two people on these ships or whatever, that goes a little bit differently than what I thought about security guard work. Granted, a lot of the times you're watching like these CCTVs and stuff, and there's a lot of downtime on these jobs as well, which is the less sinister but just as terrible part about working these things. Time passes very slowly when you're working and not a whole bunch is happening. And if you're required to watch these monitors with nothing happening, you ever watch just a boring show that wasn't really going? Maybe some of my videos though. Seriously though, you ever watched just a boring show, a movie that was slow, is like I like to call them? Like there's stuff happening, but it's not really stimulating you to the point to where you're more enticed to watch it further. But it's important that you do keep your eyes on it, and you're kind of just waiting for something to happen, like watching paint dry. Really, really terrible and dull way to pass time, to tell you the truth. And even though you're earning money, it can be hard to stay motivated to do something like that. I can't understand how young people would deal with that. Maybe an older and patient person like Calvin, but around 18 years old, it'd be hard for me to wrap my head around doing something like that.
Whenever he went on rounds with me, he'd ask questions about the job and make small talk.
Yeah.
I noticed that he was a little odd, laughing at odd times and changing his tone mid-sentence. At the time, I chalked it up to him being awkward.
Right.
That wouldn't last.
Okay.
One night, near the end of his first week, he went on rounds with Amira.
All right.
When they returned to the office, I knew something was wrong. Normally talkative, she would barely say a word. Not sure what had occurred, I waited until Calvin had gone to the restroom to ask.
Maybe Calvin was
During their
telling her some
trip,
stuff?
everything had been normal until they reached the brass mill, a portion of the plant that shut down at 6 p.m.
Okay.
There were usually no employees there after that time
All
and
right.
no lights. They were making their way to a checkpoint
So
on
they
a
were
landing
alone.
atop a flight of stairs when the mood shifted. She told me that she turned around, only to find that he was right on her. Startled, she backed against the grating at the end of the landing, and he leaned in towards her, his face nearly touching hers. He flirted in a low voice,
Oh.
and when she mentioned his wedding band, he said it would be over soon.
Wow.
From then on, I did the rounds.
Yeah, you see, that right there, anybody is capable of doing that, I suppose. But man, that's horrible. Like we live in a day and age to where signals are pretty hard to read from people. People have a bunch of different influences. They're from all different walks of life, colors, creeds, just different people. Sometimes it's not easy to read someone. And I've gotten mixed signals from people before that I interpreted wrong. But me being the cautious person that I am, I don't jump to conclusions and I probe a little bit further before making the assumptions that people are going to be okay with the way I may act or the things that I may say if they're a little bit different, okay? So I'll give you a good example. Talking religion or politics. Very, very, very controversial subjects. If you have some strong political opinions, typically you don't just spout them out in public, although there are a lot of people that do. But honestly, you normally look for like-minded individuals or people that you at least feel that you can have a safe debate with, and not people that might get really, really triggered by these type of conversations and actually act out. So that's what I'm saying. If you read a person and they're giving you these type of signals, maybe probe a little bit more to see whether or not it's okay to talk, to be a little bit suggestive, or to even be a little romantic. You could just ask probing questions or give compliments and see how they react, and continue that until you feel like they're reacting positively enough to move forward and maybe try a move like kissing them or something like that. Or no, like this person's not really feeling it. Or just come out and ask, even though it's a little bit awkward sometimes. Like, hey, can I feel like kissing you right now. See what they say, This is creepy, weird, and wrong.
Taking Calvin with me each time. The night ended without further incident, and I left a note for our supervisor detailing what had occurred.
Good idea.
The next night came and went with no Calvin. I did the rounds while Amira stayed in the locked office.
Okay.
Same thing the night after. Then, on my second to last shift, I come to find her freaking out.
Okay.
She found out why Calvin hadn't been at work. He had been arrested for murdering his wife.
Wow!
She had been dismembered and burned. Parts of her body placed in a pond less than a mile from where we were.
Holy cow!
That night, and the next, Amira called the jail just to make sure they were still holding him.
He said it was going to
Based
be
on the
over
time frame, he had killed his
soon.
wife months before he started the job.
Wow! Calvin was that spark that was missing. That's what it was. The man was evil. He was a murderer. Can you imagine if he would have been a little bit less upfront and a little bit more charming and actually seduced her into going out on a date with him or even getting in a relationship? You know, some people get together and years later they discover horrible things about the people that they marry. I'm lucky that I discovered horrible things about one person that I married before, but not that horrible, okay? Just personality traits that didn't go well. But seriously, in all honesty, man, you never know who people are, but this is just, this is crazy, man. You have to be kind of trusting of individuals unless you get those bad feelings. Just listen to your gut, you know? Maybe even ask your friends if you feel unsure. That's the best way to do it, I think. And talk openly. You know, communicating is a good skill that you can learn and get to be more effective at. And sometimes uncovering truths, especially nasty ones, may be easier than you expect if you practice a little bit. At any rate, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the story. I sure did. Stranger Stories. Make sure to check him out as well as a couple other videos that are reacted to by him. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, this is Zueljin signing off, and we'll see you next time.